Hey guys, what's up? This is Twisted here. This is just the raw cap footage of our first kill that we got on the guards encounter. Basically, on this mode, there's so there's a possible of 4 different statues that can be active, and all 4 will be active on heroic. But in normal mode, it's only 3 at a time, and it's random per week. We got the most unfortunate hard difficult combo this week. So the combo we have here is purple, red, and green. Green is a really taxing mechanic because it just every 8 seconds, like the DBM timer's wrong, it just pulses like 27k damage on all of your raid. So as you can see here, since we're loosely going to be grouped up, kind of, and because this is a very predictable 8 seconds, I took the Divine Star talent for this encounter. Now you'll also notice that I took the Divine Insight talent, and this is because the tanks are also going to be taking a constant 40k to 45k damage per second just from the bleed effects and the melee swings that the ads are doing on them. I did notice that between the 2 tanks, neither one of them seemed to be having that much more healing required based on the tank who's taking 2 mobs versus our Death Knight who's taking the 1. It didn't seem like it was that crazy between the 2 of them. And you'll see here I'm trying to manage Grace on both tanks, but the timer is very short and I have a million other things that I'm supposed to be looking for, so this is a raw cap footage. You can see me letting Grace fall off. Now the biggest thing you're going to have problems with in your raid when you go to try this encounter is your tanks need to manage the energy bars and tank taunting each of the 2 mobs. And you can see here we're trying to do it best we can, but this is the thing that caused the most wipes in our learning attempts. Basically this is the tank test encounter, and we are 2 healing it, so it's extra critical that everyone does their role correctly. It has been mentioned that this overtuned for 10-man, so if you have the option of going 25, it's way easier. It's not way easier, but if you are right on that threshold, going 25 might not be a bad idea because this is overtuned for 10, and it's very critical and unforgiving if you make a mistake on 10-man. Now, so in order to manage this energy, basically if you can see the timer over my DBM timers, that's telling me how much of the energy is stacking up on one of their mechanics. They do this thing called petrification, and petrification slowly builds up over time and slows you down, and then when they overload, it clears that petrification. So what our tanks are doing here is they're matching the color of whatever you're getting petrification to the ad that needs to overload, and the way they overload is when their energy reaches 100. You can see on the right with my 3 boss panels, they're about to go to 100. That's what I stared at in order to get my spirit shell up for each overload. Now, this is a lot easier said than done. Your tanks are going to take a little bit of a time learning curve this, because they can only gain the two mobs that are next to each other are the only ones gaining energy. So the mob that's off to the side being tanked doesn't gain energy, and it also takes 90% reduced damage. So DPS should be cleaving down the 2 mobs that are always together. We had the whole raid moving with the 2 mobs, we had them just going back and forth across the room, but we revised our strategy to have it so that the tanks just taunt at the same time, and so the raid doesn't have to move to do cleave damage to target swap as much. And the other encounter mechanics that were screwing us up here is that's the fundamental most important thing in this encounter is getting getting the taunts down correctly and getting the energy management correctly, because if you have an overload go off and you're not correctly matching it with the color of the petrification, you're going to raid wipe. So it's very unforgiving. But the 3 abilities they do, I already talked about the green jade. The other ability they do is these little fire chains that you can see chaining raid members together. They can break at 15 stacks, and if you match it with the red stacking buff, you can break it with little to no damage being dealt going out. But outside of that red petrification buildup, you really want to just stay stacked up to whoever you're chained next to, because if you're within 10 yards, you don't take any damage from it, but it does increase as soon as you move out from that range. So you want to be moving between 10 and 15 yards to manage it. We tried to avoid breaking them, but in this final kill video, we did actually break the chains encounter because they were getting out of control and it was forcing us to clump up. Now, normally you could clump up if you didn't have the purple debuff, but the purple monster is the one that's causing these little void zones. Randomly appears under someone's feet, and it does do about 30k per tick. I think it's 27, 28 to 30k. It depends. But basically, it's something you really need a GTFO, and it's it ticks every second, so it's very fast. You need to move right away, and there's no way to predict it, so it's purely reactive healing, which really screws me over. I try I rearranged my voodoo frames here so you can see my druid hots ticking, so I can see if someone who stood in the void zone is getting heals, so I don't have to worry about wasting mana trying to get them up and get grace stacked, and I can just move on to healing up the next target. You can see here in the final kill that really we were going to have it, but I had a chain on me, and I was chained to a melee, and when the group moved, the melee needs to like be really aware of where their chain target is, because they're the ones that are going to be most notorious for moving away from someone who is in the middle of casting something and get them killed or get themselves killed. So your raid awareness check also needs to be in place for seeing if you're chained, where's your chain target, and if we need to move, like are you at an acceptable health level, are you moving together, that kind of thing. Overall, I thought this was a little overtuned, but you know, the next couple encounters are easy.